You did the hardest things you will ever do before you turn 3. You learned to see, to hold up your own head, to stand, to walk, to run. You cracked an entire language out of thin air. You looked at one specific face in the world and decided, this one is safe, this one is mine. It was the greatest stretch of learning of your whole life, and you don't remember a single second of it.
Here's what everyone assumes. Babies just don't make memories yet. The lights aren't on, there's nobody home to remember. But that's wrong, and the real answer is so much stranger. You were there, you were paying attention, your brain was recording. Something took it from you. And in 2025, scientists finally caught that something in the act, and it changes what those missing years actually are. Stay with me, because by the end, you realize you might not have lost those memories at all. Start with the scale of it. For roughly your first 1,000 days on Earth, you were running the most intense learning program a human brain ever runs. You went from a creature that couldn't focus its own eyes to one that could recognize your mother across a room. You figured out that objects still exist when you can't see them. You learned that the sounds coming out of the giants around you were a code, and you broke it. You felt fear for the first time, and love for the first time. That's not a blank period. That is the most alive you have ever been. And if I asked you for one clear memory from it, just one, you couldn't give me a single one. So where did it go? Because it didn't just fade. There is a hard wall in your memory, and it sits at almost exactly the same place for almost everyone. Think back. Really try. Go as far as you can. For most people, the earliest real memory they can find lands around age 3, maybe 3.5. A flash, a room, a birthday, a moment of getting hurt. And below that line, nothing. 2, 3 years of a whole human life gone almost completely dark. But before we go looking for where those memories went, there's something unsettling about the ones you think you kept. Picture your own earliest memory right now, the oldest one you have. Maybe you're 2, maybe younger. Here's the problem. It might never have happened. In one of the biggest studies ever done on this, researchers collected over 6,000 people's first memories and found that nearly 40% of them were, in all likelihood, fictional, made up, with the person having no idea. Because here's how it works. Your family tells you a story. Mom had a big green pram. You picture it. You picture yourself in it. And every time the story gets retold, your imagined version gets a little more detailed, a little more vivid, until your brain quietly files it away as a real memory. It feels like yours. It feels like something you saw, but you built it out of someone else's words. So that precious first memory you're holding on to, there's a real chance you weren't remembering it at all. You were remembering being told. It's so universal that it has a name. Over 100 years ago, Sigmund Freud noticed it and called it infantile amnesia. He thought we were burying those years on purpose, hiding something. He was wrong about the why, but he was right that it was strange enough to name. For a century after him, the easy answer was the one you already guessed. The baby brain simply can't build lasting memories yet. Case closed. Except it wasn't. And the first crack in that story came from watching what a baby's brain is actually doing. Here's the part nobody tells you. The reason your early memories vanish might be the exact same reason you are learning so fast. Deep in your brain sits a little seahorse-shaped structure called the hippocampus. It's where new memories get written. And in a baby, the hippocampus is not calm. It is exploding. It is producing new brain cells at a furious rate, a process called neurogenesis. And this is fantastic for learning. But there's a catch. Every time a fresh neuron muscles its way into the circuit, it rewires the connections that were already there. Think about what that means. You form a memory. The circuit that holds it is real. And then, days later, a wave of new neurons plows through that exact circuit and repaves it. The memory isn't deleted like a file. It's built over, like footprints on a beach being smoothed away by a tide that never stops coming in. Scientists tested this in mice, and it's chilling. Slow the neurogenesis down, and the young mice suddenly remember better. Speed it up in an adult mouse, flood a grown brain with new neurons, and it starts to forget. You can give an adult infantile amnesia. So for years, that was the answer. You didn't forget your childhood was being erased in real time, as fast as you could live it. A beautiful, brutal trade. A mind that learns everything and keeps almost nothing. It's a clean story. And in 2025, it got blown wide open. Because there was always one thing that story quietly assumed, that a baby's brain can't really record a memory in the first place. And to check that, you would have to look inside a baby's mind while it happens. That is unbelievably hard. You cannot ask a 1-year-old to hold still inside a giant, loud brain scanner and think about a photograph. But in 2025, a team led by researchers at Yale found a way to do it anyway. Awake babies in a brain scanner watching images. And when they looked at the hippocampus, the memory center, it lit up. Babies as young as around 12 months were encoding memories. The machinery was on. The recording light was blinking. When a baby's hippocampus fired harder while looking at something new, that baby was more likely to remember it later. Read that again, because it quietly rewrites the whole story. It's not that you couldn't form memories as a baby. You could. You did. Which means infantile amnesia probably isn't a failure to record. It's a failure to play back. The memories were made, you just can't get to them anymore. And that turns a story about erasing into something far eerier, a story about locking. So why can't you open them? Because a memory isn't just a picture. To become the kind of memory you can call up later, a piece of your story, it needs somewhere to belong. It needs a you to belong to. And in your first couple of years, that you didn't fully exist yet. You didn't have language to tag the moment with words. You didn't yet have a stable sense of self, the feeling of being one continuous person with a past. Autobiographical memory only really switches on as those two things arrive, language and a sense of me. And if you want proof that memory is built out of stories, look at what happens across cultures. The age of your earliest memory isn't fixed. It slides, depending on how much the people around you talked about the past. The Maori of New Zealand have the earliest first memories ever recorded, reaching back, on average, to around 2.5 years old. Because Maori culture is soaked in storytelling, in personal history, in narrating a child's life back to them. Meanwhile, in cultures where parents talk less about the past, where reminiscing is quieter, that first memory arrives much later, sometimes not until age 4 or beyond. Same brain, same hippocampus, same neurogenesis. The only thing that changed was how many words were wrapped around those early moments. Give a memory a story and it survives. Leave it wordless and it slips under. Which means the reason you can't remember being a baby isn't only chemistry. It's that back then, no one had yet handed you the words to hold on to it. Before that, your memories were real, but they were orphans. Vivid experiences with no story to file them under. No narrator to say, "This happened to me." So they didn't get shelved in the library you would spend the rest of your life reading from. They got made and then left in a room you never learned the way back to. Put it all together, and here is where the science actually leaves you. Your earliest years weren't empty. You were awake, recording, learning at a speed you will never match again. Part of it was paved over by the storm of a growing brain. And the rest, the part that survived, was written before you had a self to sign it, in a language your adult mind can no longer read. You weren't a blank. You were a whole person. You just can't reach them anymore. And that's the part that stays with you, if you let it. Somewhere in your first years, there was a version of you who saw color for the very first time, who heard your own name and slowly understood it meant you, who looked up at one face and felt for the first time in the history of your life, safe. That person did the hardest work you will ever do, and you will never remember meeting them. They don't remember you either, because you didn't exist yet. You are what they became. But here's the thing the newest science leaves cracked open, just slightly. Those first memories may not be gone, not erased, just sealed, sitting somewhere in the dark, under your thoughts, a whole hidden chapter of your own life, written in ink you can no longer see. You were there for all of it, the beginning of you. You just can't get back in. So tonight, if you catch a strange flicker of a feeling, with no memory attached to it, a smell, a song, a warmth you can't place, don't be so sure it's nothing. It might be a door, and on the other side of it, someone very small who is still, quietly you.